death of the Gazan photojournalist Fatma Hassouna. Hassouna, 25, is the subject of a documentary which will premiere in Cannes on Thursday. Of course, this has since come and passed, by Iranian director Sepida Farsi, titled Put Your Soul on Your Hand and Walk. Hassouna was killed along with 10 relatives in an Israeli airstrike on her family home in northern Gaza last month, the day after the documentary was announced as part of the Acid Cannes selection. So there's the poster for that film. This is a Holocaust happening right now. If you're silent on this, what the difference does it make what you have to say on anything else?
I was watching the Jimmy Dore show today. It was a pretty good episode, so I thought I would leave a comment in the section, and it got a little longer and longer and longer. So here's the gist of what I had posted. When Zionist Christians say, support Israel, we must begin responding with raising the question as to what do they mean by Israel? There are several senses in both Bible and modern times that render their question a meaningless bumper sticker slogan. First, they tend to say that Jews collectively are Israel. And there's nothing wrong with this. Well, if this is so, then do they mean support Jews all over the world? They are Israel, right? But if they backpedal their statements and they clarify that they mean that we're to support the state of Israel, then are all Jews all over the world not Israel? Remember, they're reading into the Apostle Paul's statements in the book of Romans, chapters 9 to 11, about Israel. Clearly, Paul was not referring to the state of Israel because, first of all, the state of Israel didn't exist. And the state of Israel refers to its citizens as Israelis, not Israelites. Did Paul mean that all persons who have Israeli passports shall be saved? In 11:26. This is even more embarrassing to church Zionists because having an Israeli passport doesn't make you an Israelite or one to whom Paul was referring. In fact, 24% of Israeli citizens are not Jewish in any definition and are different ethnicities and religions. So, what do they mean if Israel to them means all Jews everywhere, but at the same time, they're not all Israeli citizens because they don't belong to the nation state of Israel? Understand then that not all Jews around the world are Israeli citizens. And at the same time, almost a quarter of Israeli citizens are not Jewish. Then, in the Bible, we have Israel 1.0 and Israel 2.0. Under the King David and Solomon, we have the beginnings of the Davidic dynasty of kings. Israel 1.0 was made up of the 12 tribes of Israel. But we only say one tribe was Jewish because Jews come from the tribe of Judah. Israel 1.0 was quite short-lived due to Solomon's intermarriage with Gentile women and his worship of Saturn, which is Moloch or Renphan, and he served other barbaric cults. As a governmental consequence of his sin, Israel split into two different kingdoms. The northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. This is where we get Israel 2.0. This Israel 2.0 did not have any Davidic kings ruling, and there were no Jews in it. It's called Israel. All the Jews were in the kingdom of Judah. And this is why they're called Jews. The first time Jews are mentioned in Scripture, they are those citizens of the kingdom or house of Judah, the Yahudim. So the definition of the term Jew underwent change to refer to any citizen of Judah, whether they were Levites or were from the tribe of Benjamin or were from the tribe of Judah. Then there was no kingdom of Israel after 722 BC, when the Assyrians came and wiped them out. They deported them, and these lost tribes became a hole in history, and they were never heard of again. Then in 586 BC, Judah also ceased to be a kingdom. However, when the 70-year exile ended and the former Jewish captives returned to the land of Judah to rebuild their temple, Ezra and Nehemiah, the leaders, they discovered that many had intermarried with Gentiles, and they had produced offspring of mixed ethnicity. This was the same sin that brought Solomon and the United Kingdom down. So Ezra 9, Nehemiah 13, and Deuteronomy 7, verses 1 to 3, tell us that intermarriage with Gentiles was considered haram, which means cursed or devoted to destruction. It also means excommunication. And so the governors, the leaders, they passed racial purity laws, just like Hitler did, forcing the returnees to divorce their Gentile spouses and disinherit the half-breeds, or else they forfeit connection with the tenancy of God's land. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 23. Moreover, in those days I saw men of Judah who had married women from Ashdod, which is very near Gaza, Ammon, and Moab. Verse 24, half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod, or the language of one of the other peoples, and did not know how to speak the language of Judah. Verse 25, I rebuked them and called curses down on them. I beat some of the men and pulled out their hair. I made them take an oath in God's name and said, you are not to give your daughters in marriage to their sons, nor are you to take their daughters in marriage for your sons or for yourselves. It's quoting Deuteronomy 7, verse 26. Was it not because of marriages like these that Solomon, the kingdom of Israel, sinned? Among the many nations there was no king like him. He was loved by his God, and God made him king over all Israel. But even he was led into sin by foreign women. Verse 27, must we hear now that you too are doing all this terrible wickedness and are being unfaithful to our God by marrying foreign women? That's Nehemiah 13. Intermarriage and having half Goy children, half Gentile children, occurred in only 70 years of exile, okay? So what do you think happened after 70 AD? And here we are 1,955 years later. Yet, today, we have Christian Zionists trying to bring about the fulfillment of prophecy based on human achievement. And there are ethnic Poles, ethnic Germans, ethnic Ukrainians, ethnic Russians, etc., invading, occupying a territory, stealing widows' houses, and murdering indigenous peoples in a region. And there is this colonial justification that if an indigenous people group does not have a modern nation state, they don't have borders, fences, and passports, then it's okay to wipe them out if they don't move. It's either sending indigenous people to a reservation like they did in Canada and the United States, or sending them to mass graves like they did in Canada and the United States of America. Wait till God gets started, taking what's left of our laws into his own hands, and he comes against Israel when it sets up its monarchy, which is coming. And here is what is meant by them waiting for their Messiah. They will establish a monarchy under one who was a false claimant. Hijinks ensues.